call the Honourable Paula Bennett.
Speaker, it is with absolute pleasure that I stand and actually get to put on record just how proud I am of this National-led government's budget for 2015. Mr Speaker, it's been my first budget as an Associate Finance Minister, and so I have worked my way through with the guidance of Bill English, actually looking at what needed to be done and where we could actually address the needs of this country. It's easy to forget, actually, that we have an average growth of 2.8%, that we are projecting 150,000 more jobs to come on board. I remember the call when we were saying that there would be 170,000 more jobs, and it would be fair to say that we were derided by the left, and they took every opportunity that they could to throw that back. Well, here we are saying, no, we didn't do 170,000. Actually, the economy has produced 194,000 more jobs that have been created since 2011, and that makes a fundamental difference for New Zealanders. That and seeing the average wage increase, that and seeing actually people able to have more money in their pockets to get the jobs that, quite frankly, they do deserve in this country, and seeing us project that unemployment will continue to drop, employment continue to rise, and you can see from the projections in this budget that we're heading well and truly to that 4.5% unemployment rate. But what is different? What is fundamentally different in how we look at that unemployment rate is that we're not putting actually all of that sort of slightly discretionary funding of how we assist people with CVs and skills and training and helping them get work ready just on those that are on the unemployment benefit. What you can see is that over the last 6.5 years, we have fundamentally moved resources to those that needed it most. And yes, we reset obligations, as we did a bit more of in this budget. But I want to take people back to when we first became government in 2008, and I was the then Minister of Social Development, and I will never ever forget sitting in a room in Paris with my colleagues, so with welfare and employment ministers from around the world, and they fundamentally could not believe, in fact I had to repeat it about 4 times, that we had absolutely no work obligations for someone that was on welfare until their youngest turned 18, and they could then have another baby and get another 18 years. So they fundamentally could not believe that we did not have balance in what we expected of people, and as a consequence, it's actually worse than that. We did not put any resource or extra into helping them get work ready. So we reset the balance. So we made sure that those people had hope and opportunities. We reset the balance that had never been there in the welfare system so that they could actually be creating a better life for them and their children. And as a consequence of that and many changes, we now have the lowest number of sole parents on welfare since the 1980s, 1988 I think it is. But what people forget is we could not have actually made the changes to welfare and giving those families that still are there an extra $25 a week on average. We could not do that if we hadn't reset the balance, if we actually hadn't got some mutual obligations within the system in those previous years. So it's not just the work of the last 12 months that leads us to a place where we can produce a budget that is giving back to those that most certainly are doing it tough and are living hard lives on very limited incomes, that we can put more in their pocket that goes to helping them and their children. The way that we're able to do that is over many years of resetting our social policy to make sure that we are helping those that need it most and making sure that they actually recognise what changes need to be made. I've heard many from the opposite side say that this doesn't make a difference. Well, it makes a huge difference. Actually, $25 makes an absolute huge difference. What we also, though, wanted to really make sure as we worked our way through this package, and we have spent a lot of hours and a lot of time debating, looking at it from every angle, was that we were also increasing working for families and making sure that those that did go into jobs and were still on low wages were able to reap those rewards as well. So making sure that we have the obligations right, that people are able to get into work, that they get the extra assistance through agencies like Ministry of Social Development, through education and other skills and training, but then equally for those that do go into jobs to make sure that they get assistance on that extra pay. So we are keeping that balance right, that work really does pay. Because from everything that you look at, it is work that makes the biggest and most fundamental difference in people's lives. So when we could, we have. That the first chance that we have had to increase benefits for the first time in nearly, 43 years, we took that opportunity to put money in the pockets of those that need it most. Those that need it most. If I'm to be, a little negative, which isn't really my thing, but I would have said that the opposition were expecting us, if we were going to do anything, to do sort of $9 or $10. Yeah? And we all then would have gone around and we would have thought we'd done a good thing. We knew that we could, and it was absolutely, as we worked our way through what was actually quite a tough budget process of trying to make sure that we are actually looking after the needs of those that work for our agencies and are expecting a wee pay rise for those that have got cost pressures there, but that we set real money aside to go to real people who needed that help and assistance. And that says, I think, a lot for this government, a lot for the leadership, quite frankly, of our Prime Minister. When he stood up, ladies and gentlemen, and said, on election night, having accepted the win, he stood up and said, this national-led government will govern for all people. Here's the evidence of it. That's right. It's in black and white. It is in this budget that he stands by what he said, and he stands there and says, I will govern, we will govern, this national-led government will be there for all people. When he could give back under his leadership and under this hardship package, that is what he's delivered to New Zealanders. I also want to just touch on another part of that hardship package, which isn't touched on much, I don't think, and from what I've heard so far, which is the increase in the childcare allowance. So what perhaps some of us knew instinctively was that if you removed barriers, believed in and backed these women and children, then they would take every opportunity to make a difference in their children's lives. And they've proven that by the tens of thousands that have gone off welfare when we have actually rebalanced. What they also need, though, is, as I indicated, is those barriers removed. And one of the biggest barriers is the cost to childcare. So for those that are looking for extra assistance, we have put that up from $4 to $5. So a 20% increase in what we will actually pay to help them while they're working so that they can get that extra assistance. The other thing that people I don't think have realised so much, and it's not necessarily in this budget, but is that about a year ago we also really relaxed the rules on what we will pay for as far as childcare is concerned, because too often it was just about the creche down the road or the daycare centre, whereas for many of them they are working different hours, they want more flexibility with that, and that is part of how we're actually getting there and how we're rebalancing it. Mr. Speaker, you could hold this budget up in the world, and I don't say that lightly, and know that you're extremely proud of it in New Zealand is more than punching above its weight as it does so well. As a country, we actually have the economy well and truly on track, are delivering to all New Zealanders as we see average wage increases, as we see those on welfare being assisted with a bit more money, as we see more jobs coming on board, the support for regions and also the support for our businesses that is recognised daily through a budget that's delivered like this. It is a budget that I'm incredibly proud to be part of a team, and it's a pretty big team and it's a pretty great one that care a lot about this stuff. that have spent the time in really using the data analytics, using the information that we have, and making sure that we pull that together that's in the best interests of all New Zealanders. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm really proud to stand up and support what, as I say, is a really strong team that is actually backing a really strong, growing economy. Thank you.